Yo, I loved it.
Dude, you got the memo. Let's go. It's the hunting film that we did. If you haven't seen it, check out the link below. It's called Rendezvous. It was an extremely wild adventure.
Dude, hands down the best adventure I've ever done. And I think the reason why is because it was an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't even prepared.
Not at all. Not at all. So we went with 2 pro snowboarders and then me and Sean. Following them, hiking, did everything they did with all the gear on our back. And it was a nightmare.
And they're both not only pro snowboarders, but now they're in pro hunting. So tracking and being out in the wilderness for days on end is their thing.
Yeah, that's what they do.
I don't mind a good trip, good camping trip. I mean, you brought your freaking iPad.
Hey, I had to get some movie time in, you know what I mean? And I was shedding. I mean, dude, if I had a sock I wasn't going to use, I would take it out of my bag. That's how.
But you brought your iPad.
Dude, that's an essential.
Dude.
That's an essential for me.
I mean, we were we packed all of our stuff. I don't know, maybe a couple weeks before, and did a practice run. And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
I had way too much stuff even in the practice.
Yeah, the practice run didn't even go good. It was crazy.
I didn't bring poles, I remember, for the practice one. And I was like, I don't need poles. I'm going to have to hold my camera.
Dude, I thought poles were for old people walking. Thank God. If I didn't bring poles, I probably would still be out there. I wouldn't have made it.
I would have broken my leg or died.
You almost died a couple times.
It's true.
On the trail.
Well, if we want to rewind a little bit, we were talking to Scotty Lago, who is a friend of Dan's and now a friend of mine. And he was talking about going on this hunting trip, and he was going to Colorado. And we're like, man, we should film this. We should film this trip. It's your first elk hunt. It sounds like a great experience to film. So we convinced the sponsor, I don't know, 4 weeks before the trip, to pay for the event or the trip and pay for the video. And it was the biggest thing they had ever done. And I don't think we've ever taken on anything that big either. And so to that extent,
4 weeks to prepare as well. You know what I mean? We were cutting it close.
Right. And we had never done that kind of shoot where we're out there, no power. So that was the main thing. It's how many batteries do you need?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went through different iterations of cameras and packing, and we finally got to a conclusion of what we wanted to bring.
Good old C70s.
Yeah, I have mine right here too.
I mean, and I think this camera was the all-around best pick. We definitely wanted to shoot, it shot the raw LT, whatever. Did we shoot?
Yeah.
It was raw LT, right?
Yeah.
So
we shot everything raw LT.
And I mean, I think this was the best overall camera. We didn't put monitors on because of the weight and battery.
It sucked, but
it worked out.
After doing it, it worked out. I think it was the hardest thing was pulling focus, because the autofocus is not good on the C70.
Midday, it was still hunting. I was just like, this is insane.
It was terrible.
Yeah, that was definitely the hardest part.
Yeah, so we packed up all our stuff. We went to Steamboat, Colorado, and we literally just jumped into it. We were thinking we were going to have some time. I remember we got there and we're like, hey, let's go get a portable charger to charge our batteries. We'll leave it in the rental car, and if we have to go back from our site, we can charge it.
And mind you, if we had to go back, it would have been an entire day of hiking.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
Yeah, we had no clue.
We thought, maybe it'll be a few hours.
Yeah.
And so we went to this hardware store. We bought this battery charger, or so we thought. And we get to the hotel. So the 2 guys hunting were like, we're going to go to the trailhead and kind of scope out things. We'll meet you there tomorrow. We wanted to charge batteries, charge everything, just reorganize kit after flying. And so we stayed in a hotel. We start plugging this charger in, because you're supposed to charge the charger so that it's portable. it didn't come with batteries. Apparently the thing needs batteries. Besides, it was a $600 for this charger.
We're sitting there trying to figure it out.
Then needs batteries. So we have this $600 generator that doesn't work.
Yep.
We just throw it in the car. We get there the next day and we're just planning it all out. And we hit the trailhead and it was tough.
Well, that was another thing that we were thinking too. We were like, should we go DSLR? And that way we can at least solar charge our batteries. But if we go cinema, you can't solar charge the batteries. So we were contemplating. But I mean, we ended up bringing way too many batteries.
I think it had to have been like 30.
Yeah.
Between V mounts that we were going to charge off of and Canon batteries, like the large ones.
Yep.
Like these ones is what we brought. So the doubles. And then these are the V mounts that we brought, which are massive.
Yeah.
And we were trying to put this all in our bags. And we did.
Yeah.
And then
we made it about 10 minutes down the trail.
Dude, I got like 30 minutes in and I was like, I need to stop.
Yeah.
And the guys were like, what's going on? I have too much stuff.
I think
it was
too much weight.
It worried them.
Oh, absolutely. Because we were literally only 25, 30 minutes into the hunt.
Dude, it worried me. I'm like, this is supposed to be 6 days. I made it 30 minutes. Like, I suck.
Yeah. So I had a dry bag. We dumped a lot of batteries. And stashed them for whenever we got back, we would pick them up.
Yeah. We marked them on the map and figured like we can come back if we really need them or we'll get them on the way out.
Yeah.
And so onward we went, and it wasn't hiking. Like the initial part was like, okay, hiking on a trail. And then it was completely bushwhacking because when you're hunting, you want to be off the path.
Yeah.
Which we were way off the path.
Dude, it was, I mean, blowdowns, you're climbing over trees every couple feet. I mean, it was jumping over, we had to cross rivers. And, we have all this, not only our camping stuff and our food, but we have our camera gear. And so, it was
we're filming.
Right, and we're filming the whole time.
Hiking.
Exactly.
We're not hiking in to just hike in. We're filming from like step one all the way until the end.
Yeah.
We don't know when the end is. We don't know what's going to happen. That's the other thing that's hard with these. Like, it's a documentary style shoot, but you have no idea what the outcome is.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough to not know when action is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of prepping too. Well, with the 4 weeks that we had, we kind of did a lot of prepping, and you came out with a great idea for audio. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So we had these tentacles. They're the Track E. So basically they do 32-bit float, and they each wore one of these mics. We were going to have them wear 2 as a backup, and it just seemed like way too much stuff. So we sent it with just the one per person, and this will run all day on a charge. And then we'll solar charge this. And this connects to both of our cameras because we ran tentacles on both of our cameras. So now we have audio for both guys the entire time. And when you turn your camera on, it will sync up when we put it into post. I mean, this was a lifesaver.
It really was a game changer for the film.
Yeah. So like when you're watching it and you see they're like up on a ledge and they look like they're, I don't know, 600-700 yards from us. They really are talking during that. And this is the real audio. It wasn't like retracked or pulled from something else. There's really audio from them like being way ahead of the trail from us, which was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely different. Yeah. You want to talk about the cotton carrier? I mean, like when we prepped and we were looking for, because we needed bags, we needed large camping bags. I mean, I have my bag. My bag's the best camera bag I think there is out there. But then we got into, how are we going to carry our cameras? Because are we going to hold it the whole time? Like it's going to get heavy.
Right.
And I had these cotton carriers because I do a lot of wildlife stuff. So you put your lens or your camera on here and you just walk in the woods. And I was sitting there trying to figure out how I can do this with the cinema camera. And
dude, at one point you had your Ronin.
I did put my dude, I was rigging this thing all out.
You had your Ronin strapped to that and then strapped to your chest.
I was like, could we just walk
I'm
with
ready,
this?
dude. And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Dude, you're not gonna make it like 5 feet with that.
I couldn't even quick story. I couldn't even, when we went back to drop off the elk or whatever, I couldn't bring my Ronin back out to get our stuff because it was just, I couldn't do it. It was too much weight.
I know. I was like, you want to bring that out? You're like, I got to bring the iPad.
It's the iPad of the Ronin. But no, I'm going to put this on real quick and show you guys what it is.
Yeah, it's it was a savior for sure. Like we each had one of those on, and I mean, camera is strapped to your chest, so like easy, quick release, and you can take it off and on and start filming. And I mean, we needed that because we had the poles. So you're trekking uphill, like rocks, rock slides. There's down trees everywhere. And so you need the camera to be accessible, but also attached. And so Dan had this cotton carrier, which was sweet. So I ended up buying one. It's amazing.
Dude, I mean, to be able to walk like this, and a lot of the time I just started filming like this. You know, you just stop, you'd film,
right,
and then you just keep going. And I mean, it's not much weight. It's not like with the bigger batteries, it pushes against your stomach a little bit, so it's not as bouncy.
But it was great to hold on to the camera because you're not holding on. I mean, you needed your hands at times to like climb over trees.
With the poles. And then if you needed to get a shot, it's as easy as like just pulling it off.
It was amazing.
You know? And I crossed a river one time, so I had the safe. Thank God I had the safety thing on there because I was bent over.
I have that clip.
And my camera just falls and
just starts bungeeing.
Thank God because I usually don't. I'm the last person that thinks of like safety and backups. And for some reason I did, and it was amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that vest was like a savior. I think without that, it would have been I think it just would have been a lot of stop and go, which we didn't have. And you had to be so quiet. I mean, we're out there first day, we trekked all the way in. I think it was like 8 miles, something crazy. We get there, build camp out. And basically throughout the time that we were out there, we're trying to scope and find new spots. And I just remember day one was like, it was a lot. It was brutal.
Yeah. Well, and we're not used to physically doing that stuff. I mean, we're both, athletic and we do things, but this was a whole nother level.
Even though you're not moving fast, it's just constantly on your feet, 40, 50-pound bags, and always having to be alert because you're filming the whole time too. So you're not just like trying to hike up some spot. It was a lot. And then that first day, I remember we went up that extra ridge to go glass and see if we could see elk.
Dude.
And that was after we thought we were done. We were like, oh, cool, we found
camp.
I
was going to say, I was going to bring this up. Oh, I'm so happy you did.
Oh my God. No. If you're going to talk about when you left your stuff.
No. I know what ridge you're talking about. And I was like, so happy. I was like, oh, we're definitely setting up camp. Like we can chill. And then they were glassing over miles and they were like, we could reach that. Let's start going that way. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah. When we were at that big
rock. Yeah.
Yeah. We're there. We're like resting. I'm like, wow. And they're like, I don't know. Like the day's getting a little late. What are you guys thinking? I'm like, man, let's stop.
I already have my tent out. I'm like,
Dan's cooking hot chocolate. He's ready to roll. He's got Netflix and chill in his tent. I just wanted to pass out, and they're like, yeah, we could make it. Let's go some more miles. And we went all the way to this crazy ridge and basically spent more time just glassing looking for elk.
Yeah.
And that's because we were out there before. I think we were there the day before hunting. So it was basically like scope everything as much as you can. And then it was hunting day.
Right. Then you'll be in position, ready to go, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the first day of hunting, opening season, we're out there. Feels like you're by yourself. I mean, we were out there.
Millions of acres.
Like anybody coming to save us, maybe by helicopter, but Probably not. I mean, it was just blowdowns. There's no place you could land a helicopter.
Yeah.
We're 10 miles in. So that's the other thing. Not only are you filming, you're out there, you also have to think about, like, if somebody were to get hurt, what is the plan?
Yep.
Because
Dude, we all had medical kits. We all had little safety things just in case. But that, I mean, that's a huge. You got to think
roll
about
your
it.
ankle,
Yeah.
you're screwed.
And you literally, I saw your life flash between my eyes because you almost died. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. I mean, that was far into the trip. I just remember, like, day one, we're out there where it's like pitch black. We get out there, we get out to this little ridge, and the day before we had seen some elk. So we're like, all right, this is it. Like, on our way in, going back, I remember we're like almost at where we were going to camp. And remember, Eric was like, get down. And so, like, we all got down. And this massive
Herd of elk.
Probably like 30 of them. I think there was only one buck, and that's what they were going for. Bull. Yeah, my bad. One bull.
Yeah.
And so I just remember, like, seeing that, and I'm like, wow, this is great. This is first day in. Like, amazing.
But also seeing that, I'm like, oh, this isn't this hard. Like, we're gonna get this thing tomorrow. We'll be out of here. But it didn't work like that.
No. And so the first day we get out there on the ridge, pitch black, we're like scoping, seeing if we're gonna see the same herd. And we saw nothing at first, and then we noticed two hunters, like, coming out, walking across where we would think the elk. They're basically, like, coming across where the elk travel.
And we're out in the middle of nowhere, by the way.
Middle of nowhere. And they were glassing. They're glassing, and they spot us. We kind of just give them a little wave, like, hey, we're standing here. Maybe find a new spot. And so after that, I just remember we were, like, going through plans, and so they ended up glassing again. And that was the night that we got that massive storm.
Dude, I'll never forget that. And the big reason why is because during the storm, I'm just hunkered down. I'm just in my tent.
Even before that, dude, when we went up, remember? We went up, we brought all of our shit because we were going to change our location.
Yeah.
So we were going to bring all of our stuff up. We were, like, up there, and they're like, yeah, we might move camp. And we might move it up here on this ridge, which was like, it was a hike.
Yeah.
And we had hiked it every morning like it was our little ritual. And I just remember we're up there, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go get our gear and bring it back.
And I was like, are you guys sure we're going to get our gear?
I'm like, Dan, never trust them. Because they change their mind a lot. I mean, they're hunting.
Right.
They're like, I don't know. Maybe we'll be up here. Maybe we won't. So Dan leaves his stuff up there.
So I leave, just like a little wet bag, a little dry bag, and I leave my camera. And because this is heavy, you're hiking all day. So it's like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave my stuff up here so I don't have to bring it back, go down with it, and bring it back up. And
logical,
right? And Sean's like, Sean laughs at me. He's like, I'm not. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm like, all right. And so we get down there, and then they start deciding. They're like, no, we're just gonna stay here. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? And then a storm, we see some dark clouds coming in, a storm rolls in. And
Fast.
I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I literally drop everything and I run up this mountain. I don't know if I stopped. I literally ran the whole time. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, Dan, head down, just keep moving your feet. Or else my gear would have been, fucked.
Right. And this is like day one, this is day two.
Yeah.
So, like, then your gear's gone. We had backup. We had, like, DSLRs for photos, but yeah.
Yeah. So I get my gear and then run back down, and I was just beat. I was so tired. But you guys ended up going back up.
Right. I remember you were like, I'm not going back up there.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to go so that we have, like, one camera just in case something happens. So I go up with them again. We get up there. Storm, like, kind of passed, but then looks like it might be coming back through. We decide to, like, cook some dinner up there and glass and just chill. And then it rolls in hard, and it just starts lightning. And we're on top of this, like, we're like 11,000 feet.
Dude.
So there's, like, no shelter.
It was crazy.
It was so loud, like lightning and thunder rolling through.
So close, too.
I don't think I've ever ran down a mountain that fast. I looked like, if you've ever seen that Netflix show where they're chasing the wheel of cheese down the hill, that's what I looked like. Looked like Raggedy Ann, like, whoa, falling down.
Yeah.
And I mean, we made it down. Obviously, I'm still here.
Yeah. I was already in the tent, just chilling.
And then I get down there and just like crazy lightning. I'm like, we got to film this. This is sick.
So that's what I was going to say. So not only did you, because they had, I forget what they're called, but they had like the sleeping bags with a little tarp over it. They didn't really have tents.
A bivy sack.
Yeah, they had a bivy. And so they jumped into your tent because you had more of a 2-person tent. So obviously, like when it rained, they had no cover. So they jumped in with you. The thing that I admire about your filmmaking process is you filmed everything. You filmed inside the tent. So you filmed their reaction. I wouldn't even have thought about that. But not only that, as soon as the rain stopped, but you could still see the thunder and the lightning and all that, you got out of the tent and started filming that and started filming like them in the environment with the thunder, which in my opinion, we got the best shot I've ever seen. It was amazing. But
some Nat Geo.
Dude, it really was. And I looked out of my tent and I'm seeing you film and I'm just sitting there like, la-di-da-di-da, like, we'll wait for this to pass. And then I'm like, what am I doing? And I grab my camera and then I run out and start filming. I'm like, I didn't even have that mindset. And I was just like, this is what a filmmaker is. This is, you know what I mean? He gets the shot.
This is what now, I'll tell you why you have that mentality. It's because of all the Spartan races that I filmed where you were like filming people falling in mud and like I just was always camera on because that's what we learned filming those. Like even if somebody is getting hurt, as long as somebody else is there to help them, you should be capturing the moment of like them just trying to get to the next location or somebody helping them recover or whatever. It's not like you're basically there, but you're a camera.
Right.
And you can help people if they really need it, but you should always be filming because I mean, that's how like some of the greatest stories unfold.
Yep. And dude, I will always remember that. And I am always camera on after that experience. And then, you know, we'll get into it later, but same thing when we saw the elk, you know, it happened to you again.
I know. Yeah. So we go on, I think after the lightning storm, we packed up and we left the next day because we were just like, need a new spot. Seemed like those guys were in our space and they had maybe walked through where the elk were walking through to eat or live. And so we moved and we decided to like maybe get out of that spot entirely, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case because that means going all the way back out to the car. I mean, we could repack, which was nice because we had no laptop, which was the other crazy thing. So we're filming a full 6-day documentary, no footage drop, no audio drop. That's scary. So we had like card readers and every day we dropped a card and left it there and taped it. So just in case the camera fell somewhere, like we had that footage. That was like our only saving thing. There's no backups, which is pretty crazy to go in, no backups. I think you could have brought something like a laptop, I guess. But
dude, the weight is just crazy. People don't understand. You know what we could have done though? It just would have been a lot of space, but we could have simultaneously recorded to 2 SD cards and then we'd have 2 of the, you know what I mean? But I mean, we did bring enough SD cards for sure.
Yeah, I think we had like 30, which was, and they were all 512s. Like there's no chance we're filming that
But
much.
again, we
Even
had no
with
clue.
Raw, we had no clue. We thought it was going to be cameras on the whole time. There were a lot of moments. I mean, hunting, if you don't know hunting well, in hunting, there's not a lot of crazy action. It's just like moments. So there's a lot of like walking, a lot of quiet.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times where we couldn't make noise. And so you find the ways to film that and then not film it too much just because like you don't want to fill space for no reason. But there were moments of like finding tracks and like walking through like the brush and stuff that were important to capture. So it was almost cameras on all the time until you got to like something that felt really repetitive, like miles of hiking the same trail. But I think the one thing, like after we started to leave, so we did see those guys. and they were camping like right where the elk were coming through.
Yeah.
So we left, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. Really, I had no idea, because I'm like, we're moving. Who knows where we're moving? We did get a sandwich at the shop, I think, and kind of like got some time to chill.
Oh, when we went back to the car, yeah, we went into town for a little bit. But town was like what, an hour or two drive on a dirt road. Like it was a while to get back to town.
Yeah, we went to like that general store, which wasn't like all the way back in town.
Yeah.
And then we were trying to decide, where do we go? Like, where's the spot? These guys were looking at the maps, trying to figure out the best spot to get back in. Because I mean, it was like millions of like crazy amount of land that you could cover. Elk are big, so like once you see them, they're easy to find in the woods. But
the funny thing is,
far and few between.
And you see the elk always from about a mile away. Like you're glassing,
True.
and then you see them, and you just like it's if they're not moving, it's their harder spot.
True. Yeah. I mean, we had binoculars, and then one thing we really should have had was one of those scopes, the long, like, I don't know what they're called, but they're like a long, basically like a telescope, so you could shoot through it to get some of these closer shots, because like you said, the elk were like a mile away.
Yeah,
so
that would have been awesome. But at the same time, again, it's like the weight, because I think Scotty had his, but we were like, it was like like 5 pounds or something. We're like, are we really going to hike with that?
Right. And then you need to bring some sort of tripod for it. And I remember planning this whole thing, like, we don't usually ever do something this big with just 2 people.
Right.
And so like that was another thing. Crew. You can't bring freaking 3 people. You can't even bring audio only operator. So you're really relying on making sure you have everything covered, because it's just the 2 of us. So we had like on camera mics and then these labs. But it's not ideal for people who are used to like a structured film or like a studio set where they're like, okay, this happens next, and then this. It's really like, it's run and gun, but also like adapt as you go.
Yeah.
And so we moved to the next location. I think it was like midday. So like we're already midday. They're looking at this, once again, massive ridge. And they're like pointing at it on a map, and it's through like a marsh. And so like, all right. And so we just walk. So obviously we get off the trail. We're walking. We're like deep into water.
It was nuts.
I just remember like not knowing when it was going to stop. And we had to jump over little like mini streams with our bags on.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I think that was the thing that really stood out to me, is like it really tests your ability to still create while you're also trying to like somewhat survive.
Yeah. But dude, I mean, that's why I loved it so much, because it was like such an adventure, and you literally don't know, like you could die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it was just,
we saw a
awesome.
bear.
Yeah, we did see a bear. That was cool.
And it was a cub with his mom, which is like the worst.
I would have messed that thing up. And actually, yeah, everyone gave Sean the food for to store.
What the hell? Yeah, because I had the most tent space. I didn't bring the most tent space so I could be like the bear snack. Yeah, that part freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, cool, I have all the food. Usually, like tie the food in a tree, and we couldn't find the space. There are a lot of dead trees, not a lot of places to tie things.
Yeah, and I don't think Ejax might have had his gun with him, but I don't think anyone else brought a gun.
He did bring a handgun as a safety thing. Nobody else brought anything. Probably should have had another one just in case, but I mean, we didn't see anything else. Tons of coyotes. We heard them.
Yeah.
We never really saw them, but it's cool to be out there, man. Like that's the one thing I took in the most out of it, is like when you're out there, no service, amazing.
Yeah.
Also dangerous if you get, I mean, we had satellite phones.
Yeah, we got some GPS stuff with a satellite phone. You know, we brought all the safety things we should have brought.
But you're out there, and it feels good.
Yeah.
It almost feels like there's a weight off your shoulders when you're like sitting out there and it's just acres of open land. It's more free.
Dude, I loved it.
I know. And that was the part that I do miss a lot, is how freeing it was and how just like I love the non-structure of it as a like a filmmaker. It was just like film what happens and build the story as we go.
Yeah.
Like,
But
okay, this is happening.
it was also, I think, a film that really hasn't been done in that type of way. Cinema cameras, the audio was they were mic'd all the time, so you don't have to dub anything over. And usually when I think people make these type of films, it's DSLR,
Yeah.
autofocus,
Yeah.
you know, on camera mic, and that's about it. It's like, I mean, I would think we changed the game a little bit doing this
Yeah.
film.
I agree. And I mean, I'm ready to do another one.
Oh,
So if
absolutely.
anybody is listening from another hunting company or anybody who's a hunter that wants to do this, we're ready. We're ready to do another one.
Bro, do you not see the camo on right now? We didn't
went out
plan
and
this
got,
either, by the way.
No, we went out and got camo.
Oh, I
'cause,
had to
like,
buy so much stuff for this.
I've been hunting before. I've never gotten anything, but I didn't have all the gear. And so like we had to get all the stuff. Like what do you bring?
Yeah.
Like you need a rain jacket. You can't just wear a orange rain jacket. It has to be camo or a dark color.
Yep.
Same with backpacks. It had to be something that was dark so you could kind of blend in.
Dude.
I mean,
Show you.
we were like sneaking through the woods.
This is my bag, dude. This is what I brought.
Which is awesome.
This bag is sick.
I liked the one that I used though, which was a hunting bag, was more of a hiking one. So it had the frame. That's the only thing I would counter with that bag is that it didn't have like the hiking frame that like sits on your waist as much.
It has those big straps there, but it's not really a frame, I guess.
But for camera stuff, it's great.
Yeah, it's the best bag ever. And then not only that, so that morning when we go on top of this ridge, Scotty is glassing and sees an elk. Ends up being a big bull, and he's like, "We have a shot at this thing. Let's pack up and go get it."
I think they heard it the night before. Remember, we get out there.
Heard it. Yep.
So we like set up our camp on this like, it just looks like a tornado hit it.
Yeah.
It was like trees everywhere. We had to like clear our own space. We put our stuff down, and I remember hearing it.
Yep.
You could hear the elk.
We're like, we must be close. We have a good shot in the morning. Scotty spots it
in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, he spots it in the morning.
And it was a quick pack up. Let's go. Because let me tell you, I was not ready. So I also brought with me a fanny pack where I could keep a bunch of stuff. And I think, did I bring that and not the bag? No, I did bring the bag because then we carried the gear down.
That was another time at the other place. We kind of skipped through a couple days, but it would take way long to go through every day. But I think you were supposed to go, you were going to be more mobile with Scotty.
Yeah.
I think it was day 1. And so you went like fanny pack only.
Yeah.
And then we ended up staying out there for.
See, that's what I didn't realize
hours.
Is that once you left camp, you were really gone all day. And I was like, oh, I'll bring a fanny pack with, some essentials in it. But if we need to come back, I can come back or whatever. No, you were gone the whole day and that was it.
And when you say all day, it's like 5:30 a.m. wake up, maybe a little bit of coffee, a little hot chocolate for Dan. And then we're on the path and then we're going. And it's cameras on at like freaking 5:30.
Yep.
Like you're filming in the dark. That's the great thing about the C70 is you can really bump the ISO up. We had NDs internally, amazing.
Yeah, that was huge.
To flip through. I think that was the big savior too, like versus a DSLR is like the range you have without flipping filters on is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the best choice camera to bring for sure.
I mean, the Sonys are pretty sweet too.
The Sonys aren't good, and I hate saying it because I'm such a Canon boy. Fan.
I've been watching so many Sony videos lately.
Yeah, same.
There's a lot of. I think they're gonna drop a whole new line this year.
My hands are too big for those small DSLRs or mirrorless cameras.
I might have to jump ship at some point, but for now, I'll stick with the Canons because I mean it's a sweet camera. I think the downfall is definitely autofocus, which I think is very useful when you're like operating like that, where it's just 2 people, you're operating your own audio and everything in between. Autofocus is great.
Yeah, when it was hunting, sometimes it was so frustrating because you're like, I don't want to blow the shot, and then you'd have to switch into manual focus. But then again, you're looking at a tiny screen on the back of the
Tiny
camera,
screen.
with no peaking, and it's just so hard. Or does it?
That
Does it?
part was
Yeah.
really hard.
Does it have peaking?
It
I mean,
has
it does have
peaking,
peaking.
but I
Yeah, you can
mean,
barely see it.
it's like a 1-inch screen.
Yeah.
Like, so that didn't help. And so we see this elk and we're like, let's make a move. So it was like all the way across this ravine. And so obviously, I don't know if this is obvious to other people, but it wasn't to me. But I guess obviously you have to go around the elk. You can't go like down and straight at it. So like we went way down the ridge and then over a freaking river, which luckily there was a tree. So we like walked a log tree over the river, went up. And the weather during this time, like when we're out there, it's summer-ish, fall. It's warm, and then all of a sudden it's raining, and then it's freezing. And so you're changing out layers, you're adding stuff. You've got a hat on, and you've got a beanie on.
And again, mind you got to pack all the stuff that you need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While you're hiking. So it's like you have a full backpack for this day.
And it has to be in order of some sort because at least the bag I was using, it's like you go in from the top and everything kind of layers down. You can unzip the bottom, but you didn't want to do that. And so you're like pulling out layers as you hopefully pack them correctly. And also on this whole trip, you're pulling water out of rivers and
yeah.
So you're pulling out your own water and filtering it. So that's another thing you got to do while you're out there with all the camera gear too.
Yeah, and that's so true because it comes down again to weight. It's like you couldn't just bring water bottles with you and carry it all day. You had to, when you stopped at a stream, fill up your thing, drink a little bit, maybe, fill it and carry it for a little bit, but hopefully you can finish it because it's a lot of weight.
Right. And you don't know when you're going to cross another stream.
Yeah.
That is your water. And so we went all the way up this ridge. We heard him across the way. It starts raining. And so, which we took advantage of that and started to travel because it was raining and windy. So noise didn't travel as much.
And the elk were probably hunkered down at this point. They're waiting the storm out. And we were like, let's make a move and we'll start moving in on them.
Yeah. So we got where we figured we might be above them. And it's just pouring. Now it's hailing. And so it's just like freezing, terrible. I had put my camera in my backpack. I was using my phone because it was like raining. I didn't want the camera to die. They're not really weather sealed. And we get down to this spot, sit below this tree. I remember we're playing this game. We're like ranging. We were like trying to guess how far stuff was. We're like, how far is that? And Dan's like, I could probably hit my pitching wedge that far.
Yeah, I was measuring my golf game to that.
We played that for a bit.
Dude, and we were just like normal talking, like almost yelling.
A good time.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Yeah, we were kind of it's not like we were over it, but we were at the point where we're like, like this might be it, but there's other opportunities. We're just gonna kind of see where we go because we were supposed to be out there for I think 8 days, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just hanging out, and all of a sudden Scotty's like, wait, shh, I hear something. And we're all just like dead silent. And he sees them, sees the elk coming across below us. We're up on this ridge. And so he's like, don't move. And we're all just like super still. I have my freaking phone. My camera's in my backpack behind me, probably far enough that I couldn't get up. Basically, look, Dan's camera was next to me. So I pulled his out, gave him his camera. So I'm sitting there with just my phone. Scotty goes over, grabs his bow, like up against this tree.
I mean, these elk are literally coming into us, feeding just right around us.
Crazy.
So we couldn't move.
At all.
Yeah.
And if you had to move, if you're watching this on YouTube, you had to move like this.
Dude, it was insane.
Like, you look like a sloth.
Right, but
you were like moving so slow.
When they told me they were like, drop down and don't move, I was sitting on my legs and I was like, I didn't want to move because I didn't want to ruin, if I made a sound and the elk ran.
Well, that's the thing.
And my legs were cramping so bad. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get up. Like, I got to move my leg.
But you couldn't.
I mean, I waited. I sat there in pain for like 30 minutes and then like just kept trying to inch my legs out every time. It took a while.
Yeah. And so I'm filming on my phone. Scotty's looking at his dial, trying to range. Has no clear shot yet. Eric's picking out where the bull is, and we're trying to figure out how far he is. And so Eric's ranging, telling Scotty. Scotty's dialing to different yardage, and it just kept going on and on. And then he came across, and I just remember Scotty standing up, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is it!
Yeah.
This is it!"
But one of the my favorite parts of the film was the heartbeat of Scotty when it's about time, and
Which is real.
it's like it's so real. It's like
it's because he had that mic.
Yeah,
on.
exactly. And it was like I wouldn't even have thought to add that sound in if it wasn't real, like if we didn't hear it. And it was just so amazing to see like the real experience. Like he is fired up.
Yeah, and shout out to the team that did the audio on that. They do a lot of Netflix stuff. They're out of Boston. I believe it's Soundstage. We'll link them in the bio too. They did an incredible job.
Dude, what a difference that makes. That and color, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the colorist, Steven Nadeau, he did the color. Atlanta is where he is at, and he does like music videos, films, movies. And we actually had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got connected. And he took on that job, and he did a great job with the color. It's so good.
Dude, it was unbelievable. But that was another moment where you didn't have your camera on you. The moment was happening, so you had to capture it. So you whipped out your phone and shot with your phone. And it ended up working. And I think we even used a part of that clip of the phone. You can't even tell.
We did use the phone, and it wasn't shot ProRes. It was just shot straight up iPhone. We basically, I worked with Steven, and we color transformed. So we did a CST in DaVinci on it and basically turned the color to log. So basically took the Rec 709 out of it, turned it to log, which you can do to some stuff without making it too crunchy. And so then you could color it and kind of match, which was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just another thing. Sean's just like, nope, we're filming. We're getting it.
Well, it comes back to like you talked about it, I think last episode or before, where it's like, it's the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily the gear. Like if you only have a once in a lifetime opportunity to film something or take a photo, you take it with whatever the hell you have in your hands or your pocket. Or like if somebody else has their phone, you're like, hey, give me your phone, and you shoot. Like I'm talking anything. Like if you're at an event and you're like, this is never going to happen again, or I don't have the phone or the video capabilities, but this person does, grab their camera and shoot it. Like, some people don't think to act on that. And it's like, you can't.
Dude, some people won't make projects or make films because of that. They're like, oh, I don't have a red. I'm not going to make that. Like I had a buddy who does that, and I'm just like, dude, film it with your phone. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen tons of people do that where they're like, oh, I just didn't create it because I didn't have the right equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, do you have a phone?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It doesn't sound crazy, but man, I think we're going to see more of that stuff. We're going to see more people filming than they are now with their phones. And it's going to get better. It's going to get so good that you're not going to be able to tell it was a Sony or a Canon or iPhone.
Yeah.
And so after that shot, he got the elk. We go down. We took like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes to get down there, get to the elk. And now it's like, we got to hike this out.
Well, and mind you, we're the film crew. I didn't think that we would be carrying this elk out. I guess I didn't even really think of like how that would have looked at all.
Well, and that's the thing is you're thinking you're going to film it.
Right.
You're like, oh, we're going to film the pack out. But as you're thinking through it, you're like, our camp is so far and the truck is even further. And so we put the meat in our bags. Yours was worse because it was like you had a camera bag.
Dude,
I had Scotty's hunting bag.
So let me tell you, dude, first of all, this bag is sick, but it has this roll down thing. Hopefully you guys can see it. It has this roll down thing, and but it stops. It doesn't actually go into the camera part of the bag. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes this bag huge when it's all done. but I had a camo cover that I put over my black bag to just blend in like like this. So what I did was after they wrapped up the meat, I put the camo cover around all the meat and then put it in my bag so it, hopefully didn't get blood on anything. And yeah, and it worked out. But I mean, there's, the 4 quarters. You got the 4 legs that you have to carry, and then what else did they pack out? Like the back straps
and the rack,
and then the rack and the head. Yeah, it's like so. There was a lot of meat. So like we had to put with our camera gear and all our shit. I had a leg sticking out of my bag. Sean had one too, and like Scotty had the most weight because he had the head.
He had a leg and the rack. And the crazy thing is, you have all your gear still, so it's like 40 pounds plus another 40 pounds.
It was
so now
insane.
you're like 80 pounds, and you're still
we
filming.
were still filming, dude. Again, shout out to Cotton Carrier, because your boy can be backpacking along.
Carrying meat in his bag.
And you stop for a second and film, and then you just keep going. Dude, it was
super. I mean, incredible. And they don't do a cinema setup, so this is technically for still cameras, but we hit them up and told them about this, and they were like, oh, you got to share this with us. So we'll share this with them so they can see the setup.
Yeah, because usually your camera goes like this on the on the thing.
Which I did with mine, which worked. Yours was better because you could film.
Exactly. You can just literally hold it right there and you're good. But you have to they have these little black attachments that you put on the bottom of the camera or whatever. So I just had a handle with a attachment there and I could put it that way.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Or that's why it worked.
And then we make it down this ridge and everybody's talking about how they didn't maybe pack their headlamp.
Oh, I didn't pack
my headlamp. I know you didn't. I know Scotty forgot his. I had mine, luckily, but we were using phones because it got dark fast. Yeah. And we were deciding, like, do we go to the truck and just bring the meat back and then either make a late night trek back to the tents or stay in the cars? Or do we find a place for the meat because it was cold and go up to the camp and come back in the morning and do the trips? So, like, we basically get to this river and it's pitch black and we have to go across this tree across the river and it's multiple trees.
It's one tree and then you got to go to the next one and then the next one.
And it's been raining and it's wet and you have 80 pounds on your back. Dude. And you didn't practice for this.
Boulders underneath you. Sharp rocks. If you fell, you were done.
Yeah, like, it was like an 8-9 foot drop, but still 8-9 foot drop, 80 pounds
into rocks
80 pounds
with
on
80
your back.
pounds in your back. You can't move.
And a river.
Yeah.
And so like you're gonna get wet and there's no place to dry off. So I remember you went across first, I think.
Yeah.
I think you made it across. You're across. And I think I came second. And I was walking and I got towards the end and I like was about to slip and fall. And so I just went super quick and sent it and jumped.
Dude, I could not, because you went on another log where there was like a gap to the shore. And I'm like, no, you got to go back this way and go on this log.
I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, and then you were just like, fuck it, and just went for it and almost didn't make, like you just made it. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you jumped with all that weight on your back. But I just
remember falling.
Dude, if you fell in, that was it.
Definitely hurt my ankle for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, I was bummed I didn't film it. I didn't.
Would have been awesome.
I mean, it was pitch black, so it was dark, but like I could have whipped out the phone or something. But I think I was more worried about trying to help you than get the shot.
And one of the things we still have to drop that we're working on is a bunch of the BTS content. Because we have so much BTS of us packing, some of the stuff where we're out there in the woods. So we'll definitely send that around. That'll be on our social on Juke Booth probably if you want to see it. I don't think we won't have it done in time for this episode, but look out for that. Juke Booth Instagram.
Dude, it was awesome. I mean, we have some sick stuff too. Like we hit the thunderstorm, which I think is the best shot ever filmed. And then we hit a rainbow. We had them like hiking through a rainbow.
Oh yeah. That was sick.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And that's the thing is you're out there the whole day. So you're going to get everything.
Yeah.
Because you're not planning like, okay, for 4 hours, we're going to go in the woods and film this thing. you're just like living out there. So the footage you get is unreal because you go through all the different things that happen in the day, the rain, the sleet, the sun, the rainbows. So you're experiencing it all.
Yeah. And it was hard. It was hard for me, I think, as a filmmaker on it, because I'm like, Scotty's my boy. He's been my boy for a while. So it's like I couldn't really share those moments in the moment with him because I had to be behind the camera. So it was like when he got to elk, I want to be like, yo, like, dap him up and, hug him. But it's like I got to film the moment. I can't be a part of it. So that was kind of tough.
Yeah, but I think you can feel it. Like in some of the footage, you can feel it because he even talks to us a couple times, which we kept in.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he said something about like dragging us through things and like, so you can feel that. But yeah, like you said, you just have to know to not react, which you learn over time. I think as a filmmaker and a documentary filmmaker, you don't speak or react, like you react like silently.
Right.
Which it is weird, but like that's the only way you're going to get that stuff in real time.
Yeah.
So then we put all the elk in this little cave that we built.
Yeah, because we didn't have, there wasn't really a tree around that we could hang it. So we had to figure something else out. And we, just piled rocks, these giant rocks on top of all the meat and then just went back to camp. But I had no headlamp. Camp was still hours away. And dude, I wanted to just lay down and die. I was like, I'm done. But my legs just kept moving, but my brain wasn't even there. But like somehow I just kept walking.
I think part of me though too was like, it was almost like a celebration. Like we did what, number one, Scotty did what only 10% of people do, including people.
First elk hunt.
Yeah. And the 10% success rate is for everybody, not just first time.
Yep.
So like the chances of us finding one were very slim. The chances of him getting one was really, really slim. And we got it all done. And so it just like made the film that much better.
Yeah.
And we had to hike out 2 trips to get the meat out the next morning, go back, get the tents. And so that was tough to do twice because you knew what you were up against.
As soon as you get back to the car, you're like, oh, I got to go back.
So we brought the tents out first.
Yeah.
Because we did have this shot planned in our heads. There's this field. And we were like, we want this shot during sunset. And that's going to end the film.
Yep.
And so that was like in the head planned if we could make it there in time. And I remember you found a better, quicker route for us to get back. Dude, we hit that field right at sunset. We didn't wait.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
ends the film.
And it ends the film. It was a beautiful, beautiful shot. But it was funny because that's the time we were supposed to bring the gimbal out so we could get that shot. And I was just like, I can't physically do it. I was like, we're going to have to handhold it. And it worked out. It was great. You killed that shot. It was amazing.
I mean, that's kind of, this whole film was handheld, which is like another thing to look at from a creator standpoint. Like, yeah, a lot of documentaries are like that because I think you can't really sit still. But even the interviews, like not the interviews where they're sitting at home, those ones were on tripods, but like the interviews where they're like checking in, telling you what's going on. Those are all handheld. Yep. But having the 2 angles was sick.
Dude, having the 2 angles on a wildlife documentary like that, and we have 2 different shots, audio synced up. I mean, it was amazing. To see that in the film, I was like, I wonder if people are actually going to notice that. Like, do they know what went into that?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know if you like, maybe as a filmmaker, but as a viewer.
As a viewer, probably not.
I mean, we got into one film festival with it in France. We got into the digital con, which is cool because that's like the biggest.
Yeah, Skid says, we got into one film festival over in France. That's the biggest one out there.
Yeah. And so that was cool.
We didn't get into our local ones. Kind of bummed.
We didn't get into the New Hampshire Film Festival. Yeah. If you are listening to this and you're from New Hampshire Film Festival,
shame on you.
Thank you for not getting our film in. We will be there this year. We promise. Look out for it. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll make sure
coming in hot.
Right on par with what you need and what you want for your viewers. Maybe that was part of it.
We think it was the hunting. It wasn't a gun,
Yeah.
it was a bow, but at the same time, maybe it was the hunting aspect that didn't get it in.
And I get that.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. I mean, you film and photograph wildlife,
Yeah.
so like hunting is not your thing either.
Yeah.
But I think there's an element of the one thing I look at with bow hunting is that it feels like there is a real, it's like back to basics.
Right.
You know?
You got
It's
to
like,
get
okay,
much
you gotta
closer.
get close.
Yeah.
You got to track. You got to be slow. You got to be quiet. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So that part of it feels better to me. But yeah, just in general, filming hunting is a crazy different thing.
Yeah.
And so the film, I think the film came out the best we could have ever made it.
It was incredible. And then as soon as we did sound and color, I mean, I think I watched it like 100 times because I was just so happy with it. And the sound and color changed the game.
Yeah, it was great. And I think it's probably still one of our best, if not our best project that we've done, because it's just, what went into it is just next level, especially from a small crew standpoint. And I think just the feel and the storytelling was amazing. I think it was just raw and who those guys are and what they do. And so that part was cool.
Yeah.
It's just like following people doing their thing.
Yeah, I would love to do more. And I hope we do, because that was it was such a great experience. But I'm gonna watch the film after this.
Yeah. Well, everybody else should go watch it too. We'll link in the bio below. Follow us and subscribe on YouTube here, Crafted Process and Juke Booth.
And Cotton Carrier, if you want to make a cinema line, I got some upgrades we could do. So
yeah, Cotton Carrier, if you want to do something together, we're down. Let's go make a film.
This was vital to the film.
Yeah,
this was absolutely. I don't know. I don't know what would have came of it if we had to handhold the cameras the whole day. It would have been much different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why people do DSLRs.
Right. Yeah. So
sweet.
Awesome. Is that the pod?
That's the pod.